Welcome
to the Bring Me to Life podcast.
It's time to wake up
and shine on.
Welcome everyone here to the Bring Me to Life podcast. It is episode 174 today. My name is Seelaman and I am joined by the lovely Shannon Shine.
Hello, what up out there, light beings? I'm always excited to be here for a podcast with all of you.
Yeah, and this is going to be a good one because it's about kindness and compassion, something I believe that we all could use more of. And, you know, those two words, they are very similar, but they are different. And I know you have some good explanations about that.
Yeah, so I like to research things. I like to learn about words and what they mean to different people. So looking into kindness and compassion and what they meant to various resources I checked out. If you're really curious, you can hit me up. I'll send you some links. But it seemed that kindness and compassion both are super related to human values, and they're both really important to society. But compassion is a feeling that's a little deeper. It's something that you can relate to somebody's suffering and wishing like a speedy recovery for that person, or the ability to feel for someone, or just being able to relate to the same feeling of someone else, where kindness is more of an act or a feeling that you embody, sort of like an emotion or a state of being that you're sharing. So in kindness, a person may feel sorry for some person, but they won't necessarily reflect in that person's suffering or feelings. But with compassion, a person may have the same feelings or experiences of a person suffering. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. It really, to me, it sounds a lot like, you know, empathy with kindness equals compassion.
Yes. So empathy, there's actually different levels of empathy, and one of them is compassionate empathy. So that it's taking on that feeling of another, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that a lot. I think, you know, compassion is huge, and it seems like it, from what it sounds like, it's like going deeper than just kindness, where kindness itself is very powerful. Random acts of kindness is very powerful. But
very, very powerful. Yeah. Just to be able to embody the idea of kindness, because so often there's the opposite. There's jealousy, there's envy, there's just dissatisfaction. Or
do you think that you could be kind and still feel those things?
Yes, totally. You could totally be kind and still feel those things.
Okay, so, you know, how, say somebody is feeling that way about somebody else or about another situation, how can they go about best being more kind and compassionate, even though they may be feeling those things?
Well, that's kind of where I think compassion comes in, and empathy is so important. And empathy and being empathic seems to be some big trigger words in the spiritual community and just humanity at large right now. A lot of people are tapping into that feeling because we're becoming more telepathic in some ways, where we can really start to feel what other people in the room are feeling. Now, let's say you're in a room of people and there's like a competition and you're feeling envious of others in the room. Maybe you're all competing for a job or something of the sort, and you are jealous of maybe somebody else's experience or persona, and you start to feel nervous. Well, a good way to combat that is to just be kind, to smile, to compliment each other, and to remember there's not necessarily competition. And that kind of feeds into the compassion and empathy part, where you feel into the, okay, these people, they don't have to be my competition. I don't have to be jealous of them or scared of them, but instead remember that they're also having a experience as a being here, and they're probably having a lot of those same feelings, which is why we start feeling it. It's like a feeling that goes around the room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and moments like that is, it happens, and I think that at some level, whether it's a smaller level like that where you go to an interview, or a bigger level like we're in right now with a lot of the division that's happening in our society, I think if you look back at history, there's always been some sort of conflict or moments of unease, stuff like that. So kindness and compassion is, I don't think it's going to go out of style anytime, because I feel those moments are a part of our life. So learning to be able to have kindness and compassion in those moments especially, will go a long way to helping us as humanity, not even as individuals, but as humanity moving forward and moving in a direction that is making progress, rather than regressing or progressing.
Right. I think that this was a very important topic for discussion because of some of the things we've been covering in previous episodes recently, as well as what's happening at the world in large with like the different social matters that are happening with racism and political situations. Like, people need to know how to approach situations both with kindness and compassion. So maybe they can't relate to somebody in a certain situation. I think that was a huge thing with the Black Lives Matter movement, is so many people that were dealing with like white fragility, they were like, well, I'm being kind, like I'm showing up, I'm not mean, it's not me, because they weren't able to be compassionate on a level of understanding because they've never been in a minority situation. But in their minds, they were still being kind. In some situations, kindness needed to be taken to a deeper level of compassionate energy to understand what some people were going through. But it goes with life experience. You can only be so compassionate if you really don't know how to put yourself in other people's shoes. And some people have such interesting boundaries where they refuse to see outside of their own perspective of reality. They can't step into somebody else's shoes, which is sometimes hard for people in the spiritual community to understand, because we live on such a multi-dimensional level. We are very empathic, we're very intuitive, and you don't have to be in a spiritual community to be empathic and intuitive. But what I'm saying is there's a lot of bickering happening in the world right now that we could heal a lot with just some simple action in opening up and reflecting on what's going on in other people's worlds.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Spreading the kindness around like confetti.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What did you use for people talking, nitpicking? What did you say? What was that word? Argue. It's not arguing, but it was something else.
I don't know. You've probably said it. You put me on a spot right now. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, bickering. Okay, that was the word. Yeah, bickering happens, and even recently for us it happened, and I exploded. I said something that I didn't mean and was really hurtful, out of these feelings of just kind of anger, and I don't really know. I'm still thinking about it and feeling into it, but those moments happen. Like, we are human. We yell and we get angry and we say things that we don't mean. But with kindness and compassion, we can ask for forgiveness. We can forgive ourselves. The other people, if they have kindness and compassion, will, forgive you for saying something if you're hangry, or if you have onion juice in your eye and you can't see and you're just so frustrated you don't know what to do.
Sila's trying to navigate telling on himself for being sassy earlier. Sila got sassy earlier because he was hungry. It happens. I guess one of the things that's important is to realize that we all have our sassy moments, and that it's important to be compassionate, because one of the first things I said to you when you got angry and started kind of being mouthy, which is not typically you, it's got to be something crazy happening in the astral world right now. But anyway, I first said, like, excuse me? How would you feel if I said that back to you? And I tried to like take a breath rather than instantly cry or be angry or throw a tantrum or whatever my instant response may have been, because this happens a lot to people on the internet too. Somebody says one thing, it gets misunderstood because they said it up in a way that didn't make sense to the other person, and somebody starts mouthing off and getting butthurt and saying things that they don't understand either, and they don't reflect on how they would feel if somebody said it to them. So that was my first thing was, excuse me, how would you feel if I said something in the same energy towards you? And you instantly kind of took yourself back and were like, oh wow, I didn't exactly mean it that way. But what I needed to get clear to you was that once you say something, whether or not it's how you meant it, it's out there, and then you got to figure out the proper way to be compassionate in the situation. Sometimes it's apologizing. Sometimes it's doing more research. Sometimes it's showing up and taking action in the world and, you know, fixing actions of either yourself or your community. I'm trying to relate this to multiple different levels of things because it sometimes is an argument in the kitchen while we're both trying to cook a million different things, or sometimes it's an argument on the internet, or sometimes it's an argument at a protest or in a courtroom or in behind closed doors or in front of public. It doesn't matter. We need to be approaching each other with so much more kindness and compassion in the world. There's many ways to do that. And one of the other reasons I thought that this was important too was I kind of reflected on something I said in one of the last episodes. You kind of called me out on it too. I said something about how people show up when other people transition or pass over. And you said instantly, you know, there's different boundaries, and it's important to kind of be in your own boundaries. Sometimes you can't take on all that energy of somebody's loss and emotions. And I realized for me, that's something I typically do because I've been through it so many times. I instantly go into a state of compassion, and sometimes you're right. I do have to put a boundary there, and I can't reflect on all of it, and I have to at least be in a state of kindness. But at least showing up with one of those two things is better than not showing up at all. So if you are trying to make any sort of impact in the world, I'm not trying to say kindness isn't good enough. I'm saying start out with kindness, and if you can really feel into the person's situation, move it into compassion. Or if you're in a tiff with someone, you're dealing with some spazzy hangriness, you take a second and you breathe before retaliating or throwing a pan or something crazy that may have happened before I got my temper under control. You know, I was an angry teenager. I probably would have threw a pan or something in that midst of the chaos before. But now I'm like, wait a second. Like, I know he doesn't mean what he's saying. I know we're both hungry, and I'm going to try to be kind in this anger I'm feeling and just say, is this really how you want to show up? And you were instantly like, no, and tried to like think through the whole thing. And I could see it in your energy that you were being compassionate and reflecting on the whole situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, you know, we're humans, and even the most kind of us can get overwhelmed with emotion. And so, you know, that's why it is important that we learn about these things and learn how to hold space for ourselves and for others to get better, to learn from our mistakes or our outbursts. Yeah, I think, you know, it's important because we're so human. We're so human right now. I'm such a human.
Right. And we are all walking in this human experience. I want to kind of put a positive note on this too. That
I got so many emotions going through me. Wow.
Everyone's got so many emotions going through them right now. This is a crazy time. If it's not something silly like that, it's something way more heated, like political discussions that are happening right now.
Yeah,
it's tense, dude.
It's so intense, and I want to put out more kindness and compassion out there because, you know, I think that's going to help to heal all of what's going on. And, you know, I wish we could all get along.
Yeah, I want to put a little bit of a positive twist on this as well. So we've talked about being compassion in suffering because in part of the definition it says that compassion means to suffer. But in the same respect, to the darkness, we all also have the light. Compassion also means to celebrate together, to honor and to respect. So when you're compassionately excited about somebody else's wins, somebody else's successes, you're able to rise with them. So I think that's where compassion and kindness kind of go hand in hand. Like it's important to tell people kind things, and important to wish people well, to give them congratulations, to, you know, like if you see somebody that is getting married or having a kid or got a job raise or whatever it is that's important to them in that moment, to really compassionately feel into some sort of kind gesture or just respect for them in celebration, rather than being envious or jealous or to not have any feeling at all, because that compassionate energy that you can send to them can make that feeling of enjoyment so much deeper for them when they know that their community is feeling it on a deeper level. Like we want to celebrate wins together just as much as honoring the suffering together. It's about taking action in some way to show others that you were there for them and that you want to see them succeed, or you want to see them survive and thrive or get through whatever it is they're going through.
Absolutely. If you see somebody who's doing similar things to you, then, you know, that's source just carrying out your mission with your other mission partners in a way, you know. It's like, I saw, you know, you told me somebody that we didn't really know, but you said somebody went live before we did on the same topic, kindness and compassion. I'm like, good, because this world needs it right now. So
yeah, it was pretty wild. Like I was just, you know, scrolling on Instagram. I was trying to get our posts ready for promotion, and it said some random person I'm following went live with kindness and compassion. It was like right after we had discussed our topic and just kind of checked in with each other. And I was like, okay, this is what the collective needs most right now. And it does go right in alignment again with like the last few episodes. So if you're just tuning in now, go check out some of the other episodes about authenticity and things like that. But in general, the ability to feel compassion and to be kind to others has also been found to have numerous like health benefits, and it's a way to connect deeper with your mind, body, and spirit on a much deeper level. Like you even have a meditation you mentioned that is related to it. And we come into this world with a desire to connect with and care about others more deeply. Like that's part of the reason we became physical experiences, is so that we can understand compassion and understand emotions in a physical way. So showing up and being there. And we have this natural capacity for empathy, and it's getting deeper as we become more telepathic and connected and remembering that we're all one. And through practicing compassion is how we're going to be able to get those telepathic abilities to strengthen over time, because right now it seems like one of the big reasons that people don't wish to be psychic or telepathic or to have these interconnected understandings is because we're so scared of judgment and fear of what others have to say or to think about us. And if we're just being kind and compassionate to each other, there wouldn't be that fear of each other. So I think that's pretty important to remember too.
100% agree with that, and grateful that you said it. I was thinking while you were saying that, you know, that I think for a lot of us it's probably easy to give compassion and kindness. Like I know, you know, Mooney and Sarah in the chat, you and me, I know a lot of people who have an easy time, you know, giving kindness and being compassionate. But it's much harder to receive this kind of kindness and compassion when you need it, when we need it. So I was going to ask you what your thoughts are on feeling more deserving or feeling like it's okay to accept kindness, compassion. Any tips on being able to open up to receive more of that?
It's a good question, because I have ways to show compassion in my notes, but I didn't really reflect on how to accept it more. But that's a good thing. I think it would be to, one, realize that it's a mirror. And I guess I'm saying that too, because like earlier when you and I got sassy, like I said, years ago, I probably would have wanted to retaliate in a very angry way, probably even like a physical way. But over the years of dealing with that and being in abusive relationships and things like that, where I had to defend myself. Before I got in a relationship with you, I told myself I wasn't going to, one, deal with that on a repetitive basis, and two, that I was going to reflect things in a compassionate way where I held space, and before I reacted, asked somebody else, like, would you be okay if I did that to you? And like acting as that mirror for people. It's like, I know how my ego wants to respond, but I also know that I'm meant to be a reflection of the experience and hold space to remind people to act how they want to be treated. So in the same sense, if you wish to give help to somebody when they're in need, because I know somebody, I have a few people that I can think of that they're helpers. They want to help people in need so bad all the time, but when people try to help them, they almost never accept it. And I'm like, well, why would you want to expect other people to accept your help if you're not willing to accept theirs? Like, there has to be an exchange of energy there. In the same sense, they'll say, well, I would hope somebody would do the same thing for me. And it's like, well, would you accept it? You have to be willing to accept it. I'm not necessarily sure I answered the question, but that's me reflecting on it.
Yeah, I know it's probably harder to answer that kind of question because you were like, I spent so many years developing these tools and techniques to be kind and passionate to all these people, but then you think about it and you're like, dang, I don't take as much time to, learn how to accept all that kind of compassion. It's, something interesting that I think a lot of quote unquote healers and guides deal with. Being worthy, I think is a big thing. Like Mooney says that it's a big thing for her. I deal with it as well. And so if we can hold kindness, compassion for ourselves, for not being able to be as accepting as we are giving, then maybe that kindness, compassion will help to heal and transmute whatever has been blocking us from being more accepting, or at least being more balanced with accepting and receiving.
Totally. The worthiness is a huge thing. I just keep telling myself that I am worthy, and sometimes I have to like check myself because I'm like, am I being in my ego? Is that too much for me to think? But then it's not. Like, anytime I remember that I'm worthy, spirit, it responds in a way that shows me that I'm worthy. When I feel unworthy, it takes me down a rabbit hole of darkness. And maybe one of the reasons it's hard for me to reflect is I had to come to terms with like being willing to ask the universe for things. And sometimes I'm asking the universe straight up for its own kindness and compassion in reality, because it can be rough. I'll be like, okay, can we get some compassion here? And I just can feel spirit in my heart being a different way, like, okay. Or if I ask for a sign or a guide, it usually comes. Like, if I want to do, just for example, like the last time I wanted to do something, it was like the stained glass thing. I started doing stained glass, everybody. It's really fun. I made an angel because I asked the angels, like, hey, is this something I'm really supposed to do? Like, can you give me some sort of sign? And out of an act of compassion, I put up a specific pendant and was like, okay, if this is meant to be the sign, somebody's going to buy this. And somebody did buy the exact pendant that was my sign, and they said that they just felt this compassionate desire to do so, and they weren't even sure what they were going to do with that pendant yet. And I had to like get open to accepting little miracles like that from the universe as just messages and things. And it's something that I've used to help guide me through my experience of life and where I am right now. And to me, I'm feeling pretty grateful. To some, I might not be on top of the world, but it's moving. Mm-hmm. There's a lot happening here, and I'm grateful to be where I am.
Yeah. I would like to give out a few tips, if I may. I'm listening to these because I need them as well. So if you are in a moment where you are feeling unworthy, you can meditate, look back at a moment in your life, some moment in your life. Most of us have one. If you don't, you can create one, but look back at a time where you felt so worthy, where you felt so appreciated and accepted in your life. And really meditate on it as if you're living that moment. Feel the air on your skin. See the clothes that you're wearing. And feel what that feeling is like. You know, there's been a few moments. I know one for you is during the Crystal Chalice Awards. Everybody stood up and gave you a standing ovation.
That was one of the craziest experiences of my life. I'm never going to forget it. And honestly, that was a moment. Okay, that moment I was completely like speechless because I was like, I just have to stand here. Like, I have to take this love right now. Like, I have to just accept it.
And you were kind of squeamish a little bit, standing there as everybody was standing up and clapping for you.
Still had over 300 people clapping for me, and that was just like such a confirmation in the universe that I was like doing something I was supposed to, but like I really didn't expect it or ask for it. So like taking that energy blew my mind. And I had to be willing to accept it, though. I knew I put a lot of freaking hard work into that event. Like, making that event was all I had at that moment. Like, I put so much love and energy into honoring all those people. And in that moment, I saw that it was the mirror that I needed. It was the mirror that I needed. Like, it makes me want to cry when I think about it, actually, because it's just like such a big wave of energy to have 300 people staring at you and clapping. Like, what?
So for you, that's like a moment that you can reflect on, and anytime you're feeling unworthy, even just thinking back to it, meditating on it, that will bring those feelings back into your body. So that's one way that you can kind of transcend those feelings of unworthiness. And another one would be kind of to reflect on the natural world. The trees. Think about them. They breathe in our carbon that we give to them, and they give us oxygen. But they don't sit there and contemplate if they're worthy to be alive. They don't contemplate if they're worthy to grow the leaves on their branches. They just do it and accept it.
I feel like that with house pets. Like, you know, when kitties or dogs are just laying around and they're just like, they don't contemplate how worthy they are to lay on a bed or a couch or whatever.
They don't contemplate like if you're petting them, they don't am I worthy of receiving this human's love? They just take it. They take it in and they love it.
I mean, some animals don't always love it, but they're not questioning their worthiness. Sometimes they're questioning yours, but
well, you know what I mean, like.
But yeah, it's
if they're with their humans.
Exactly. No, that's where I was aiming. Like, just like how comfortable many animals just get when they're in their space. They're just like,
even the wild animals. Like, I don't want to just stick to the
right,
calmer ones, but even the wild animals, they don't contemplate if they're worthy to be there, or if they're worthy to have the stripes or the spots. At least that I know of. Maybe it is, but I don't feel like that.
I mean, I'm just thinking of some house pets that are like the ones that are on the schedule and they're like, I deserve food now. Like, they're not questioning their worthiness at 6 a.m. when they're meowing or barking at their human, being like, this is my time for food. I deserve this food. This human's going to give me food. Do that with the universe or with other things. Like, accept it. Like, you deserve it. That maybe is not the best analogy. I'm getting a little silly here, but I like to be a little comical when I'm doing these discussions too.
Yeah, so I was just trying to say, look for inspiration either within or around you, because it does exist, and you can work with that to get out of a funk, So I'm using this for myself too. So anybody who's listening, we're all in the same boat here.
Can I give you some more tips on how you can show compassion?
Hey, what are some tips on how we can show compassion?
Thanks. So, doing some research, some of the collective ways that people like to be shown compassion or that you can show compassion are, 1, just challenge yourself to smile more. That's one that goes with kindness. People relate kindness and happiness and compassion to smiling. And maybe sometimes smiling isn't the best because, some people don't like it if you smile at funerals. So instead of smiling, it's holding space for the mood. So things like that. But I like to challenge myself to smile more. And another one could be something simple like opening a door for someone. I've been using my foot to hold the door open recently since COVID's been crazy. I tried to hold the door open for someone once and they were like, and I was like, oh yeah, you don't want my hand germs. But, I'll use my foot at like the gas station or something and try to hold the door open for somebody, especially if their hands are full.
Hit the buttons and open the doors and leave them open for a little bit.
Yeah, that used to be one of my favorite ways to show compassion. I feel like it's getting harder now because I can't smile at them with my mask on. I can't open the doors for them. I do smile with my mask on.
Yeah, I did try to smile at someone earlier.
I make sure I move my cheeks and my eyebrows so they can tell I'm smiling. Anyway, you can do other things just by like being motivational, motivate others and cheer them on, show them that you are in support or understand of their current struggle. And just like practicing acts of kindness is pretty big. Like, that could be something as simple as donating your old clothes rather than throwing them away, like giving them to somebody. Or if you know somebody that's really struggling, giving them extra meals if you have leftovers, or even if you want to make them a meal, and just to honor that you understand that, they're going through a hard time. Maybe you can't give them money, but maybe you have a ton of canned goods that you can make something awesome and give them something yummy. There's different acts of kindness. It doesn't have to even be like a physical thing. You could help them with their homework. You could help babysit their kids if you know that they've been super stressed out for a long time. There's
call and check on them.
Call and check on them. Just hold space for them to vent. Give people time to bond with them, with your friends and family. That can be a phone call. And just saying encouraging things. Right now we can't give hugs or handshakes to most people, but typically when that's a thing, that was a thing I like to do, is that hug of energy exchange, like, hey, I'm here. In just incorporating more thank yous, being grateful and showing gratitude, and helping people with their to-do list or something like that. If you have time for energy exchange, like you help our neighbor sometimes with a spot in the yard that he can't really get to with his mower and stuff, and that probably makes him so happy.
It does, because he made a lamp for me.
He wanted to light up your life.
Yeah.
So like helping somebody with their to-do list, especially if you know that they're going through some different things energetically or physically and they can't do it as well, or maybe they can do it and they just don't have time, and you're helping them out. That's great. Nurture those relationships. Take time to show up and listen or do something awesome. And yeah, that's a lot of what I got.
Sweet. Well, I know we do have a meditation that will play at the end, and it's one that I created for compassion for ourselves and compassion for others. And it's about an 8-minute meditation, so we'll play that at the end. But first, I know we have some energy updates, but do you have anything else before we get into the energy updates?
I like to do new business during podcasts to share people with things. Do you like for me to do that during the energy forecast? Do you want me to do it now?
You do now.
So tomorrow, if you're listening to this live, or on Tuesday, we're doing a sound meditation, like a virtual full moon ceremony on Wednesday. I believe that is September 30th.
Yeah, it's the 30th, and we do these all the time. So
full moons and new moons, check out bringmetolife.com. We're going to be doing virtual ceremonies as often as possible to celebrate those with you, so that we can celebrate with as many people all over the world. So whatever time zone you're in, we're in Eastern Standard. Yep. So that's happening. If you want to get a card reading, I do a collective reading, which I'm going to do a collective reading here during the energy forecast in just a moment. But I will do one specifically around the moon vibes tomorrow. And then I do general readings. And if you make a donation, you get a personalized reading and you help our network grow.
It's growing and I'm excited.
Yeah, a couple other new business things. We have new episodes of Golden Gaian podcast on bringmetolife.com. We also have a new episode of Tune In and Find the Others. That is great. If you haven't checked out Incense and Whiskey yet, go do it. And Shamanic Living, also great. You recently did a new episode of Through the Eyes of the Angels, so it sounds like basically all the podcasts have new things happening. So if you need podcasts, lots of that. And someone asked in the chat where to find my stained glass stuff. My stained glass stuff is mostly on my Facebook right now. I have a little Facebook group, Copper and Shine Alchemy. But this Friday, and most, again, full and new moons, I am doing a website update of a ton of awesome new jewelry and cool crystal things. So if you need some extra shiny goodness in your life, you'll want to check that out. I have some special, we're recording this, getting ready to go into October. So I'm already into Halloween season. I have some cool witchy things that's going to be going into my collection. And yeah, go check out shintasticshine.com. There's cool stuff happening there. That was my new business. Thanks for letting me share.
All right. Great. Thank you. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back, and we'll have some energy updates for all of you and a meditation.
Yay! All right. It's time for a collective card reading. I am using my Secret Language of Light deck because I love it. I think it's awesome. It's got some really cool vibes to it. It's got some cool art. If you didn't know, I usually share a picture of the cards I pull during the readings in the Bring Me to Life community group on Facebook. So join us in the Bring Me to Life community if you want to see the picture. And I'm just going to actually read from the book because I love this book, and hopefully you don't mind because I try to make it quite entertaining. So the first card we have is the Create Space. And just so you know, usually when I do readings like tomorrow and the full moon ceremony, I won't be using the book. That's all intuitive guidance, but I use a different deck, and I just love the messages that this one has. So if you want a more intuitive perspective, tune in to our full and new moon ceremonies. But anyway, so today's first card is Create Space. Make room for your dreams and understandings. Create space for new desires and understandings by learning how to be happy now. We all want certain things in our life to change, and it's up to each of us to do something about it. If you apply action from a position of truly wanting change, you will then create evidence of that desire as a manifestation of change. Once you notice something you would like to change, take a breath and say thank you. Recognizing what you want to change brings you more clarity on what you would like it to change to. Your job is to create the space for your dreams and those desires to fill them. Do this and you will begin to receive direction and wisdom. Create the space by coming into balance and meditating and focusing on the moment and the energy you wish to feel as the outcome. You can do this by thinking of a person, animal, place, or situation that also makes you smile. Feel the smile stretch through your body and relax, and knowing that all you desire is on its way. You've empowered your whole being because you don't need conditions to change and to feel joyous in the present life. Right now, you should be feeling a bathing of an unconditional love. Try to breathe it in and enjoy how good you truly feel. If you're not feeling good in this moment, try to wrap yourself in that light and try smiling for a consistent amount of time to call in that joy deeper. So, really love that message. Feel like it goes into the compassion and creating space for the understanding.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Let's see here. There's a couple more cards if you don't mind. But it says also that you can, each time you breathe in and out, imagine that you're making space for more soul wisdom. And when you breathe in, you can feel yourself receiving that wisdom in a deeper integration into your body and releasing anything that is no longer serving you. And then the next card that I have is expansion. So that was creating space. And now we're creating space for expansion, which shows that now is the time to expand and travel at your own speed of light. It says, are you keeping up with your life and all you want to create? Or are you holding yourself back with what ifs or buts? Are you not feeling worthy? Know that you limit your life with your beliefs, and everything you say and everything you do will become true for you. And it is the platform on which you build your life. This is the playing field of life, and it's unlimited and it's loving. That means you are unlimited and able to be loving, and it's a wondrous part of your personal creation. Know that you're perfect. You're right here, right now, and you're perfect. You're different, and therefore you think differently. You think differently than you did last week, last year, last decade, and you will always be you. And what you're observing is your view. It's neither right nor wrong, but a way to become clear about what you like and don't like, so that you can choose what you do wish to focus upon, and the events and the experiences of your life will grow in meaning as you allow your consciousness to expand. Learn to focus and dance in time with the energy, and the speed of your desires will enhance. They will arrive more easily in many surprising and satisfying ways.
Hey.
I love that. So to me, that's saying that if you allow yourself to create space and expand your perceptions of how you wish to show up in kindness and in compassionate ways, that you are amplifying, not only are you amplifying your manifestation abilities, but you're speeding them up. You're showing the universe that you're ready. So that being said, I tried to pull 3 cards, but 2 came out. So we got insight and we got variance. So real quick, the insight says, you are about to see further and higher and deeper through space and time. Your psychic skills are expanding and seeing through the lens of your soul. This is funny because we talked about being psychic and telepathic earlier. It says, hone your abilities by reading about or doing a workshop on intuitive development. Remember that we're all psychic and it's a part of who we are, but we have to thrust the ability into the background in favor of our senses. Which means that, there's different ways of being intuitive. There's all these different clear senses, which are basically enhanced version of our most common senses that we're already active with. But often we'll push it aside because it's pretty intense. But it says problems occur when we keep looking at the manifested world for proof of our worth. It says, remember you are worthy because you are here and there's nothing to prove. You could be becoming an intuitive reader of this if something you truly desire. And it could also mean that you're learning to trust what you feel, and the next steps to take will drop into your mind in the following days if you allow yourself to believe that you can receive. This is great. I feel like these readings are always such confirmation to everything we talk about. Mm-hmm. That's why I like just reading from the book in this deck, because it's so spot on. It says some inspired reflections and actions to take would be to join a local meditation group or psychic circle or ceremony, which we happen to be doing one of those tomorrow.
Welcome to our ceremony tomorrow.
It says also, before meditating, if you have clear quartz, that's awesome. So maybe you should bring a clear quartz to your ceremony tomorrow.
Ooh.
There's a suggestion for you. I also thought it was interesting that it talked about doing a workshop on intuitive development, because case you didn't know, that's something I'm working on. So if you're interested in doing some sort of intuitive development, let's chat. All right, so the last card I got for you here. The last card is variance. Okay, I talked myself up about reading entertainingly. Maybe it just means it's going to make me stumble. The differing perceptions of ego and soul. I feel like I talked about this to some clients this week. Today, you may not feel like yourself. You and your soul are looking at the same thing, but you're seeing it differently. Your emotions and reactions are a combination of your thoughts and your soul's thoughts, and sometimes they don't align, and you may feel wobbly. But variance is a way of explaining the wobble. When you have the same perspective as your soul, things just feel right. They may seem satisfactory or easy. No limiting beliefs or patterns are triggered, but there is a feeling that all is well. Your soul will never join you in judgment, blame, or hurt because it's not the truth of you. It's not the perspective of love. How you feel reveals how aligned you are with your soul. And if you're experiencing something that doesn't feel quite right, take a breath and come back to your center. You will begin to feel better. You'll feel inspired to navigate your inner radar and ready to receive your soul's true transmissions. Some inspired reflections and actions are to be willing to see beyond your personal point of view, understand compassion, and don't believe everything you think, and instead be mindful of the thoughts you choose to participate with. Are they a help or hindrance in creating your dreams? And that's mainly what we got here. It says to meditate, which you're going to lead us into in a little bit. Mm-hmm. But man, I love how just synchronistic messages can be. This is one of the reasons I work with oracle cards. People are always like, if you're so intuitive, why do you work with oracle cards? And I'm like, I just like confirmation too. You know, it's part of that worthiness and understanding too. Mm-hmm. Like, I know what I intuitively feel, but it always feels so good when you get that confirmation from spirit that you're in alignment, mm-hmm. or like spreading a message that really truly needs to be heard.
Yeah, they've been doing it for a long time, you know, with the runes, with bones, with all kinds of stuff. So it's something that's been around for that long. It's probably not going anywhere. So let's go ahead and jump into the solar flare update, if that's okay with you.
I'm here for it.
All right. So interestingly enough, since our last podcast, which was actually about 2 weeks ago, so let's see, last week we had solar flares on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and on Saturday we had a C-class solar flare. So for anybody who doesn't know, the scale goes A, which is the smallest, and then B, C, and then M, and then X, which is the largest. So a C flare isn't that much, but it is interesting because in front of that were a bunch of other solar flares. So pretty interesting. We are entering a more solar maximum, so I think in the next year it will start to ramp up a little bit. But we aren't seeing a whole lot of solar flares. So moving on, we have a solar wind speed right now of close to 600 kilometers per second. We have a G1 minor. It's a minor storm, so there will be some auroras. There might be some radio static or whatever, but beyond that, there's really not much to be worried about. The sun is still in a little bit of a minimum, like I said. So we have a low outlook for the next few days. And that's what we've got for the solar flare. So for anybody interested in the moon, right now we are in waxing gibbous. And if you want to know more about the moon, tune in to our full moon ceremony.
Yeah, we're going to do a full moon ceremony tomorrow. I'm going to talk about some moon energy. The full moon's not actually until I believe Thursday into Friday. We got some other things happening then, so we're going to celebrate early. You can actually celebrate the moon 3 days ahead and after to kind of get those energy vibes rolling. And I'm excited for our ceremony tomorrow. I get real happy to play my drum. It's always good to hear you play your flute. I always enjoy giving people personal readings. The ceremonies are cool. The virtual thing is cool. At first, I was a little but it's a thing that I enjoy because we get to connect with people from all over the world. So we would love to connect with you and have you tune in. We have a chat room. It's awesome.
Absolutely. All right, so you ready to get into the meditation?
Can I tell people one more time to go check out shantasticshine.com for all my awesome new jewelry that's going to be released? Because
Sure,
I did it.
You just did. I'm gonna play that. We're gonna do this meditation, and we'll say our final goodbyes.
Sounds good. Let's meditate.
Hello and welcome to this meditation. Today we are going to send ourselves and others compassion for all the difficulties that we are experiencing. So go ahead, get comfortable, and begin to relax. Take a few deep breaths, just becoming in tune with this moment. Allow all your thoughts to flow in, observing each thought as a leaf floating down a river. Accepting any emotions, any feelings. Wonderful. Now bring to mind any difficulties that you've been experiencing lately. What difficulties have you been experiencing? Bring your full awareness to them. As you bring these into your awareness, imagine them flowing into your heart center. And as they flow into this area, they are being transmuted, they are being dissolved. Any sadness, any pain, any trauma from these difficulties is being transmuted, dissolved. And imagine as you exhale your breath, these are now coming out as illumination, as fearlessness, as compassion, with determination. Inhale difficulties, sending it to our heart space, transmuted, dissolved, flowing out of our breath as illumination, fearlessness, compassion, and determination. Imagine yourself feeling healed, refreshed, and ready to move forward in the next phase of your life. Now let's take a moment to have compassion for others who are experiencing difficulties that we may not be. Bring to mind any difficulties that others are experiencing. Bring them to mind. Focus on them with your full awareness. Having compassion and empathy allows you to feel that pain that others may. You begin to get a taste of what others have to go through. Without comparing any difficulties, just accept what others are going through. Imagine those difficulties, that trauma flowing into your heart space. And as it does, it's being dissolved, transmuted. And as you exhale, you're releasing this fresh new energy as illumination, fearlessness, compassion, and determination for all of us, for this whole world. Because together we can create the changes. But first it starts with ourselves, which is why we started with compassion for ourselves. And then we can have compassion for others. Because this life has a lot to heal. And I'm here for it. I welcome any comments, feedback. When you're ready to come back, just feel all your physical sensations. Being able to feel, hear, smell, taste, touch. All of it returns. You can take a deep breath in, move your body, wiggle your toes and fingers, and as you exhale, open your eyes. Thank you all for taking part in this meditation. I wish you all the best, and I'm excited to create a better world together with you. Have a great day. Namaste.
All right. Thank you, Silo, for that great meditation. He's got lots of good meditations at silamon.com if you need some more meditation vibes in your life. We would love to know how you feel after that meditation. You can join us in the Bring Me to Life community group on Facebook, where we like to share articles and conversations. I'm going to share the picture of the cards that I pulled because I think they're pretty and awesome to look at. And yeah, something that I thought about while we were kind of taking that little meditation break is it's important that even if you're being compassionate or empathetic, that you find ways to make sure you take care of yourself, your energy, your personal boundaries, because you don't want to take on everybody else's stuff and not have enough energy to make a change or to be kind because you're too worrying about everybody else. Remember to be a nice, clean, reflective mirror that has self-love and boundaries.
Yes,
so
thank you.
That being said, go check out cool jewelry at shatasticshine.com, other cool stuff at bringmetolife.com, which is also silamon.com. We've got lots of .coms. Anyway, I think it's time. I think it's time.
It's time to stay awake
and shine on always. For many of us, spirituality is just the quest to find essence or true meaning and to really just connect with a higher consciousness.
Connecting with your spirituality is very important in this life. By becoming mindful of all of it, you can realize where you are and if that is leading you to where you want to go.
Listen to the little simple things, because it's those little simple things that are going to shift you vibrationally in such a way that will prepare you to become very intuitively minded and ready to step forward on the next part of your path.
I hope you can feel the love that's inside you, that's inside me, that connects us.
Thanks for shining on with us.